My name is Natalie.
And I'm Melody.
And we're the co-founders of Hangover Coffee. We sell portable pour-overs that allow customers to brew fresh coffee with no equipment needed.
They're these little individual packages that you just pop open and they hang right over your cup.
Right. This is the hangover part?
Yep.
Maybe coffee helps with hangovers, but we don't claim to be like any sort of hangover cure, and we really are just pure coffee.
And so you've joined us here on Wireframe because you have a design problem.
Yeah, so right now, because this product is still relatively new to the States, we have really been focusing on showing people what this product is and what is great about it.
Sure, yeah, 100%.
Since we don't have a brick and mortar, our Instagram feed is almost like our storefront a little bit. So we kept putting photos that showed off our product, but I think now looking back, it kind of looks like one big ad instead of like really about us.
Yeah, so how can we give it more a personal touch and have us as co-founders, as advocates for the product, but at the same time, make sure that we are professional enough and legitimate because we don't currently have funding for multi-million campaigns.
Right. Do you mean that the way you communicate in your graphics should be more professional, or maybe you're nervous that you don't want to take out the personal aspect of it?
I think we were trying to figure out where the sweet spot is. We started this as a passion project. So if we show too much of our background, then we might look way too scrappy.
And then, of course, putting ourselves out there in front of the brand is always a little bit scary.
Personalizing your content can feel awkward and nerve-wracking, especially if you've already established a more product-forward approach. But while Natalie and Melody have a unique product, they know it's not going to sell itself. They've got to put themselves out there. So let's inspire them to stir in a more personal side to their coffee business. First, they'll hear from a mentor who excels at connecting his own story to his brand. And then we've got a designer ready to bring them some new ideas on how to add personality through design. I'm Khoi Vinh, Senior Director of Design at Adobe. And this is Wireframe, Design for Small Business, a special limited series from Adobe Express, a new app that you can use to quickly and easily make standout content from thousands of beautiful templates. So I think you mentioned earlier that this kind of portable pour-over is still new to the American market. Is it more popular elsewhere in the world?
Yeah, so that actually goes back to our story and how we decided to start Hangover Coffee.
We were actually roommates at this time.
And this was after our travels. So I was visiting Hong Kong and Melody was visiting Taiwan. And we both separately saw these coffee pouches everywhere in Asia. And we just really liked the idea how simple it is to brew a fresh cup of coffee.
Yeah, and we both flew home and we were like unpacking. So like standing in front of our suitcases with a bunch of coffee pouches in our hand, both like excited to show the other person what we found.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of our light bulb moment. And we were like, all right, we got to find a way to like bring this to America.
That's a great story. So let's take a look at your Instagram to start. One thing that jumps out at me immediately is that the imagery is really strong and bright and colorful and sharp, and it seems very professional. And scrolling through your TikTok, it looks like you've posted quite a bit, and there are a lot of pictures of your product, but really only sporadically do I see one or both of you guys showing up in these feeds. So just looking at your socials, I'm not sure I would have known who started this brand or really why.
Yeah, I can see that.
What do you think the stakes are if you don't change up the way you're doing things?
It would sort of keep us stalled a little bit in terms of customer base growth.
And it's really important because it is, at the end of the day, from the business side, a numbers game.
And also, I think one eventual goal for Hangover Coffee that Natalie and I have is being stocked nationally on shelves. But staying so small, it would take a lot longer to reach that goal.
Okay, I get what the problem is here. It's not that Hangover Coffee's content doesn't look good, because it does, but it's just missing something special. Adding more of Natalie and Melody into the brand could really change things for them. So I've set them up with someone who's great at bringing their story into their brand.
Hi, Melody. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, Phil. Oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I've heard so much about you and your amazing Hangover Coffee. I feel like this is like the perfect pairing. So Yeah, let's jump in.
Philip Wang is a founder of the Wang Food Production Company, and he's also the owner of the popular Bopo Mofo Cafe in San Gabriel, California. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers on some platforms, and even millions on others, all because of how he connects story to product.
Bopo Mofo has such a great branding that is like a mix of, really great food, but also like the branding is also very you. And so we kind of want to pick your brain on how you balance that, how you inserted part of yourself into the brand, but also let your product shine.
So basically like how I brought my own identity and my own personal story into Bopo Mofo to kind of create the brand, right?
Yeah.
It's a great question. And I think it was very intentional from the beginning. Like obviously me coming with a fan base and an audience from Wang Fu, when we started Bopo Mofo, we definitely wanted to share as much as I could about this process because it's really hard to start a business. It's really hard to be in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a lot of hard work that goes behind the scenes. What has grown from that is that now, yes, Bopo Mofo feels a little bit more personable. People like know the humans behind it. And what I see a lot of times in marketing, social media, people just keep posting the product over and over again. And it's like after a while, like it just becomes very repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
You want to try to give them reasons why they're following. They don't need to see your drink or your product 5 times a week.
Right.
I did go on your Instagram and I did see that you are okay to be in front of the camera. And I would just say, like, don't be afraid to lean into that. Because here's the other thing too. There are so many coffee brands and people have to choose your coffee over someone else's. You want them to become fans of you and root for you, not just the product. If you know someone's backstory, you're going to support them in a different way now that you know like where they come from and what's their passion and what motivates them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that like turned it on the head for us because I think when we first started, we were like, we have such a great product that we want to share. We want the focus to be on that and let it almost talk for itself.
It is a balance, right? I would say that the product, no matter what, will always be part of the conversation because that's what they're following for.
Mm-hmm.
So you giving your story, you giving your personalities is that extra sauce that will differentiate you from other brands, especially as a new brand, right?
Yeah. Melody and I started Hangover Coffee towards the end of last year. We call ourselves COVID babies.
Oh, you guys are brand new.
I know, super new.
Yeah, you guys are babies.
Yeah.
I actually, feel like your founder story is very unique and very fun. The fact that you saw something big in Asia and you want to like share it with the rest of the world, I think that's something that is really special and interesting. And I feel like that can come out more in the design of what you guys are doing. Was that something that you felt like you didn't want to share originally?
No, I think we always shared our story. We just didn't highlight it as like a core part.
We were worried that focusing on the Asian American side of it will limit us to a certain type of audience, which is not our goal.
Can I ask a hot take right now? As Asian American woman, did you feel like you had to kind of keep that on the DL too, because maybe you wouldn't be taken seriously in the scene or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
I'm not sure they expect 2 small, short Asian women to be running a business, much less one called Hangover Coffee. So I think we did subconsciously pass through our minds, like, would there be a disconnect seeing our faces versus our brand and brand name?
Right. And I asked that because I've actually heard that from other Asian founders or female founders. And I know that that's something that's very common and unfortunate. But I would also say that it can be quite empowering when you see the support that comes because they want to support you as women of color or as women founders. I think like you could almost see it as like a superpower, honestly.
Yeah.
Like for me, when I'm thinking about what we're designing, I don't shy away from any of it. And so the way I see it is this is who we are. And if you want to partake in our brand and come by, like you're going to get a lot of Asian American pride here, right? In some ways, it builds a stronger foundation of fans.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you design your posts on social media to tell the story of Bopo Mofo and what you're trying to represent for the brand?
Yeah, it's so funny. Like a lot of it has just kind of become unconscious. I just make design decisions that are just natural to me. But like I started like scrolling through our own social media and we really noticed that actually all the photos with humans and with faces did way better than even a really beautiful product shot. So when I think about designing stuff for social media, I definitely do think about, okay, who or what are we trying to highlight here? If it's like a special guest that was here, even if it's a product, like maybe I'm talking about it, maybe I'm holding it, even like candid shots of like you guys working. So it's not always posed, for example, like action shots showing the process of the work. People like to see that little inside peek that, you wouldn't normally get in a normal advertisement.
Natalie, we got to dig up that video of us when we were trying out coffee to source for our pour over pouches. We had like boxes and boxes of beans. We tried over 50, 60 beans.
That's amazing.
And we brought out like every cup in the house, had them all lined up. We were tasting coffee for like 3 weeks. I think we just like bounced off the walls for 3 weeks straight because of how much caffeine we were consuming.
Yeah, seeing you guys try all those coffee beans and that whole process and also just having fun, like that would have been a great video. Even if it was just like selfie style, just like off your phone, like, oh my gosh, wait, pause. This should be something that we should get on camera.
Yeah. I think what we love about Bopamoppa is even with those different posts and pictures, overall, it's got the same personality, very lively and fun and like the trendy place to be. So how do you get that consistent personality throughout?
I mean, honestly, like it's because it is me. It is because Bopamofo is my personality. Like as a co-founder, it was a goal to put my personality into the product, into the spaces. It's going to be from you first as the founders, right?
Yeah.
I think the good news is that you two definitely already have that personality in you. And you just need to figure out a way to translate that into the design, into these assets.
Absolutely.
I'm really excited for you too. Honestly, like I think you guys can do it and can't wait to see what you guys come up with.
Melody and Natalie are starting to see how infusing their personality could strengthen and even differentiate the Hangover Coffee brand. But how exactly to do that in design? That's where designer Karlei Ayers comes in.
I worked as an in-house designer for a coffee roaster for over a decade and worked with hundreds of different brands, coffee shops, designing their packaging, labels, menus, pretty much everything coffee related.
So having worked so much in this industry, Karlei, what are you hearing about Natalie and Melody's challenge here?
Yeah, I can totally see how it can be a huge pain point for founders to bring their own personalities into their branding. But we all know it's crucial for creating that human connection. It's what makes you really stand out.
Yeah, it's not always fun to put yourself out there, but that's the reward, right?
Totally. And as Phil mentioned, people want to see faces. We've all heard that images with faces perform better on social media. It's just sometimes the execution can be tricky.
Yeah, in fact, the Hangover Coffee logo, it's a mug wearing sunglasses, playing off the idea of a hangover. So in a way, their brand is already a face. So the idea, it's already there.
They're already completely on the right track.
So can you tell us a little bit about what you learned designing for that specific coffee market? It's really crowded space, right?
Yeah, definitely. I would say one thing about the coffee industry is everyone takes themselves way too seriously. You have to be, the best coffee, the most educated barista. And there's lots of good coffee out there. But I think, the way Hangover Coffee is setting themselves apart is by being fun and bright and colorful. Mm-hmm. They obviously are doing a great job of avoiding the cliches of coffee beans and the coffee mug with steam coming out of it for their logo. Thank goodness. Not that sea of black and brown that you see in the coffee industry.
Yeah, we've definitely seen that in the coffee industry, everyone taking themselves too seriously. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that we're already standing out a little bit with our bright colors.
So, Karlei, how can Natalie and Melody go even further and bring more of their personalities into their branding?
That's a great question. To start brainstorming, I actually want to do a little exercise with you. Start by imagining that Hangover Coffee was a person. What would they be like?
Fun, bold, trendy, young.
The life of the party, who everyone wants to be around. A little witty, a great sense of humor. If I need to find the next cool thing to do, I'm going to go ask them.
And what could some of those cool things be? What would their Instagram look like?
Is it nightlife stuff? Are they off traveling the world? What do you guys imagine?
Both. Every post is probably in a different location. They're on the ski slopes one day. They're like by the beach on the other. They're like hiking the mountains. There'd be a lot of like in the moment capture, like they're having so much fun at a party and then they just turn around and snap a picture, but it looks perfect somehow. You know? I think they'd be very work hard, play hard.
Yeah, it's like us.
Yeah, that's great. I'm starting to get a real feel for who this Hangover Coffee would be, which is also an extension of you two. Now, how do you imagine those traits showing up in your feed?
Maybe we can just make it more dynamic and colorful as a whole rather than something that's more structured.
I think incorporating more candid shots would help give that like active, on the go, fun personality. Like, oh, they just stopped for a moment to drink our coffee and take a picture and keep going with their busy lives.
For sure. And I think those will really connect with the audience and they'll see some of themselves in your product, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, we hope so.
I imagine the secret for Hangover Coffee is like all the different contexts that you can take it to.
Mm-hmm.
That also really tells a story about it being portable. Like I really like the image of using the pour over package on an airplane tray. Like that's not a place where you usually get a good cup of coffee.
Yeah.
That tells a story really well. And the environment becomes kind of the thing that makes people sit up and pay attention, right? It's like you can get a pour over on your flyover, you know?
Yeah.
And I can already think of a few ways you could turn those qualities into other design elements. Bring those bold colors with you into your content. It would be great to see those pop up to connect you to the brand even more. And your product is portable, it travels well, so let's see some more movement to your content. That doesn't have to just be video or photos though. You could bring that action in with maybe some graphic elements like illustrations or even some animation.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever tried that.
You know, you don't have to be an artist to draw some fun, crazy illustrations to put over some photos. There are so many fun things that you can do with animation now. As you know, when you're creating a pour over, it's releasing so many more flavor notes and nuances than a just regular drip coffees would have. So maybe expanding upon that a little.
Yeah. One of our coffees has like super strong blueberry notes. Maybe we can draw like little blueberries, like graphic blueberries around it or things like that.
Yeah, completely play those up.
And the animation is a great point too. We haven't done anything with animation, but I think that's a really fun way to add some life into our content.
It sure sounds like the personality of Hangover Coffee as you described it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. And thanks to you guys, I think our content creation journey will be more fun too.
Melody and Natalie, you've heard some great advice today. So what are you going to do first to change up your content?
Two things I can think of. One is definitely, pausing to take photos of us when we are working and behind the scenes and feeling confident about sharing that with our audience. And then the second one for photos and things like that, adding more illustration elements and maybe playing around with animation for the first time.
That sounds great. I can't wait to see what you guys do with this. While Melody and Natalie get started, let's review some of the advice that we heard around putting more personality into brand design. 1. Don't be afraid to share your founder story through your content. It really helps customers connect with you and your brand, and it can give you an edge in a crowded market. 2. Do a deep dive into your brand's voice. What kind of personality do you want your content to portray? Those are the elements that can really help you make the right choices about the design of your brand and your social accounts. And 3. Experiment with illustration and animation to bring energy and dynamism to your content. And they're easier to add to your design than ever before, especially with Adobe Express. A week after we spoke, Natalie and Melody sent me this update on how their new approach was going.
Since our recordings, I think several of the biggest changes we've made is really like dynamic, lively photos. Yeah, not like staged for the camera. And then we really paid attention to our palette. And we've really started to make sure our feed uses those bright colors.
The whole vibe is more energetic, but at the same time, it still shows people what we are selling.
Karlei gave us some great tips on using illustrations. So actually, we made 3 graphics that kind of highlight 3 aspects of the founding story of Hangover Coffee.
We use a lot of the functions within Adobe Express, like removing background, dragging the two of us into the graphic and then using different images to really tell people the story, which is fun. Even personally, our experience of creating all this content in the past wasn't as fun, but now we actually have to put more thought and care into every single post and every single wording that we put out. I think it's also more engaging and fun for us to do, which is a great side effect of this whole change.
It's amazing how fast Natalie and Melody got to work. They've really jumped into this new approach wholeheartedly, and their social already feels more engaging. See for yourself. Find links to Hangover Coffee in the episode show notes, where you'll also find links to Philip and Karlei's work. And if you want more great design advice and inspiration, check out the other episodes that we've made for you this season. I'm Khoi Vinh, and this is Wireframe, Design for Small Business, a limited series from Adobe Express, a web and mobile app you can use to make great content from thousands of templates. Head to adobe.com/express and give it a try. On our next episode,
as I started to grow a following, I wanted to expand from a hobby into a full-on business. So I am changing the name of my business.
how do you rebrand your business and change its name without losing your loyal following? That's next time on Wireframe.